There we are. So, hi everyone, my name's Claire. I'm the Senior Campaign Manager here at Birchal, and I'm delighted today to be welcomed by Rod Lewis, the CEO of MediKane, the newest campaign on Birchal, which uses proven plant-based natural health products to improve health and well-being in people suffering with a variety of health issues. So Rod, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Claire. Well, thank you everyone for attending. So we're talking about MediKane, investing in MediKane, and hopefully using MediKane products. We're a food as medicine.
I might just quickly hop in before we kick off for everyone, just in terms of how this webinar is going to run. So Rod,
I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. So Rod's going to be running through his pitch deck for the next 10 to 20 minutes, and then we'll be having Q&A at the end. Please use the Q&A box down the bottom of your screen to ask your questions, not the chat. We'll be going through all the Q&A questions first. Hold your questions to the end, and we'll go through them in a big long go. So sorry, Rod, back to you. And yeah, can't wait for today's presentation.
All right, thanks, Claire. So MediKane is a food as medicine company. We develop and sell Australian-made, clinically proven plant health products. We're targeting a number of chronic diseases that are basically part of the society pretty much all over the world, both developed and undeveloped countries. The products are food-based, they're health products. We've developed them with the rigour of pharmaceutical drug development. My partner, Dr. Malcolm Bull, co-founder, his history prior to he and I getting together was developing drugs. And so we've used exactly the same protocols as drug development in every sense of the word, including clinical trials. And what we've done so far is two gut health-based products branded part of our stable on the market. We've actually got some other products that are white labelled, which are good for cash flow, and they're on the market right now in a pipeline of other products coming through. Now, this is a horrible looking slide, and it's basically to make us think again about 100 years ago. We were all eating, our forefathers and foremothers were eating foods like they've done for effectively thousands, if not millions of years, effectively completely unprocessed. And as everyone knows, processed foods have caused major changes in lifestyles and health. I mean, they're convenient, they're cheap, they're very, very tasty, etc., etc., etc. But we generally understood by pretty much everyone now that highly processed foods aren't as good as foods pulled out of the jungle or out of the bush as we did over 100 years ago. And of course, in 4 generations, our gut hasn't changed at all to adapt, and it won't ever now with modern medicine. So the food has changed and the gut hasn't, and that's led to a number of health problems over the last 50 years even. There are many, but the one that we're able to target very well with our technology is gut health problems, and the biggest single one is diabetes, type 2 diabetes in particular. Type 1's a different type of diabetes. It's not gut health related. It's a predisposition genetically, but 85% of the people in the world living with diabetes live with type 2 diabetes. On top of that, people with gestational for short terms, and the 463 million is a figure from the International Diabetes Federation. We're well connected there. So one of our staff who used to work there effectively, and 463 is people registered as living with diabetes. It excludes pre-diabetes, and it excludes those people that the medical world are sure live with diabetes but haven't been diagnosed. From our point of view, from our business's point of view, from an investor's, one of the key things is that our products do work, but importantly, there is no product, supplement, food or drug that fully treats the condition of diabetes. The drugs that are out there are very, very good, without question, but they're not fully effective. I mean, the most widely used pharmaceutical drug for diabetes is metformin. It's effective for about 36% of the people, and for people that it isn't effective with, they have a cocktail of it. endocrinologists and doctors prescribe a cocktail of metformin with other drugs, or indeed sometimes just other drugs, and the intensity or the dose size goes up over a person's lifetime. In other words, the condition progresses over a person's lifestyle. And there's certainly no cure. No one's even claiming a cure as yet. Diabetes can lead to a lot of other comorbidities. Now, comorbidities is a devastating problem that goes hand in hand with diabetes, or indeed can be caused by it. Chronic kidney disease is one. Cardiovascular disease is affected by it. Peripheral neuropathy, blindness, one of the leading causes of blindness is diabetes. So it's got, there's a lot of good reasons to treat it seriously and do whatever we can to minimise its effects. The International Diabetes Federation also tells us it's growing massively to 700 million in 20 odd years. So Dr. Malcolm Ball and I innovated, and we found we could produce a product that will help stabilise and the blood sugar levels, because the complex mix of ingredients we're now using retains the biochemistry needed to manage sugar within, or glucose in medical terms, inside the blood. It works extremely well. It's backed by robust clinical trials. We've done 6 clinical trials on it now, and a host of scientific evidence. And one of the results we had was that blood sugar was managed 2.2 times better compared to managed by diet and exercise alone. The product is convenient, it's non-invasive, it's food-based, safe product, non-pharmaceutical. No side effects, cannot be overdosed. Same as a food. I mean, I guess you can do too many pumpkins or cabbages, but it's the same effect. It can't be overdosed any more than any other food item. Importantly, it can be taken by people alongside any pharmaceutical drugs they're already taking for diabetes or anything else. And we go out of our way to make sure it's sustainably produced as possible, and our pipeline includes improving the sustainability of the product. People, of course, want to know how it works. We've done 6 years or more of scientific work at Macquarie University. The government awarded us an ARC grant of just over $2 million, and that was aimed at figuring out how it works. Clearly, to sell a product that is going to help a medical or health condition, health practitioners, be they doctors or other health professionals, naturopaths, dietitians, etc., all these days require to know how it works. They're called modes of actions, and so we spent that time and effort at Macquarie University figuring out how it works. 3 PhD streams were created and delivered this work, and they're published works available for people to see. But importantly, our product has got both chemical, if you look at the top of the screen there, it's got both chemical and physical interactions with the gut. Physical is important to scrape through the bowel, and that's why dietary fibre, one of the reasons dietary fibre is so important. Wanted to clean the bowel, that helps with a lot of conditions, and it's what we were doing hundreds of years ago naturally. The other one is, this is pretty important for NutriKane, biochemical interactions and micronutrients. One of the things our products retain is bioactive nutrients. Bioactive, for those who may not know, is if a particular naturally occurring chemical that the body needs is not in a form that the body doesn't recognise, then it's not bioavailable, and you eat it and then you get rid of it. What is essential for nutrition is that the important nutrients are available to the body and the body can use them. Broccoli, for example, contains the highest source naturally occurring of chromium. Chromium is essential in the biochemistry of getting blood sugar or glucose into the cell. The cell uses it for energy, of course. And chromium is very important for that. Now, most of the supplements on the market, the bioavailability is under 5%. Most of them are 1.5%. So for 95% of the the ingredient that you see on the label isn't used by the body, it passes through. Whereas with ours, we've measured it at about 98% bioavailable for chromium. We're high in selenium, which is good for immunity health, and chromium essential for management of blood sugar. The other one that's critically important is MediKane is a broad spectrum prebiotic. Prebiotic means it feeds the microbes and flora in our gut. Well, we've done the work at Macquarie University to say, pardon me, I'm suffering with a cold. We've done the work at Macquarie that demonstrates that our product feeds all the known healthy bacteria. It's a very great breakthrough in the published work. But it also stifles the growth of the inflammation-causing bacteria. So we help control inflammation. One of our patents is on inflammation control. A lot more available for people who are technically interested on how the product works, but for a high-level view, I hope that helps. Now let's look at the business. We've got 5 different paths to market. In fact, 5 different business groups. All uses the same technology, certainly the same supply chain, similar technology, all the same supply chain, a mix of raw materials that go through the same processing. Firstly, health. That's where NutriKane D sits today. So it's a food. It's sold through health stores. It's sold online. It's over the counter. There's no restrictions on its use at all. In fact, the first 2 products that we're launching next are going to be in that category. We've got a product in medical. Now that's already a hospital product. It's used by the medical fraternity by hospitals, been clinically trialled both in Australia, Royal Melbourne Hospital, but also in Chicago Hospital. And that's a product to help people in hospitals post-operative use. As I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of white label work. It's unbranded, so it's not going to help the brand value, but it does help cash flow massively. So someone else, our customers, we formulate it for them. We actually own the formulas, but we let them use it, and they sell it under their branding for various applications. And it's very good for cash flow, and we haven't got to manage collecting debt or bad debts. As most would realise, that the biochemistry of a human system is the same as dogs and cats and horses and many other animals. And so dogs and cats do get diabetes. Dogs and cats, labs in particular, get arthritis, which is an inflammation condition. And so we've launched fairly recently an animal division. We did a lot of the early work on animals, so we know it works. But we've been dealing with horses for colic and other things for about 7 or 8 years. And we've just recently formed a JV, and that's being kicked off right now. The world of big food manufacturers are all trying to improve their labels, improve the quantity of dietary fibre, and in particular the proportions of natural dietary fibre. Ours is as natural as it gets, and we've got we've put a gentleman on who's experienced globally with selling into industrial markets, and he's selling our products there. So in our pipeline, we've got a number of other products in development. We've done, pardon me, we've done a lot of work in preclinical trials at the Royal North Shore Hospital. Where our target, we have not achieved this yet. Our target is through one formula or another. We don't know what it'll end up being. A product for type 1 diabetes, quite a different condition to type 2. Chronic kidney disease is a comorbidity, as I mentioned earlier. And the US want a health and wellness product. So it'll be similar formula, but it'll be positioned as a health and wellness product because that's what US people want to buy. We have a gut health product in hospitals now. We want a gut health product at retail, aged care facilities, just on the shelf for anyone who wants to improve their gut health and their bowel health. And one of the most important things we're doing is the 5th point. We can improve the efficacy or the effectiveness of our existing products, NutriKane D, by use of a range of Australian natural ingredients. Um, I can talk more about that if anyone's interested. So far, it's not particularly confidential, but there's a range of additions we're going to put in this. We've tested them. They do increase the effectiveness. We haven't launched it commercially yet, but we will. There's 4 we've got in mind. One will go fairly soon to significantly improve the effectiveness and make the products applicable to other conditions. With sales, since day one, we started selling some years ago, but as test market. We had a short moments of fame on Channel 7. Andrew Rochford, or Dr. Andrew Rochford, promoted our product and sales skyrocketed, but they didn't taste very good and people didn't repeat purchase, which was devastating to us. But we fixed that. So we had early sales. We learned a lot. The product that we've got is 3rd generation in terms of formula, and 2nd generation in terms of packaging. So for the last few years, our sales, you will see, have gone steadily upwards. We're pretty happy that they have gone up. This is without major marketing funding. This is word of mouth. You'll notice it dipped down in first part of last year. That was, of course, well, the bushfires, but also COVID. And I'm delighted to be able to report that it recovered very quickly in the second half of last calendar year. Very, very, very pleased to be able to report that. You can see that our whole business has been focused originally on science. We're rooted in science. We've done such a lot of work, 6 trials, 6 clinical trials, quite a number of anecdotal trials, in-house trials, trials by others. Number of our customers are healthcare professionals, and they have their own group of customers, and they've done their trials. So all of it led to one conclusion: the product works really well. I mentioned the 3 PhD groups. We've done 3 clinical trials at Royal Melbourne. We've done preclinical at Royal North Shore, some work at the University of Melbourne, Monash. QUT's done a lot of good work for us and currently actively doing work for them now. The majority of the work on the modes of action was Macquarie, and we've got a doctor in Chicago that's using the product and done 2 clinical trials on it as well. So why are we crowdfunding? Well, basically, we're crowdfunding because we've got a successful product. We wanted to help as many people as we can, and this enables us to do that and to accelerate our growth. We're growing, but we can accelerate our growth if we get cash in from people who are interested in the business, to want to invest in it and come with us as part of our journey. We're also keen just to increase the awareness of our products. They work, and we want as many people to benefit as we possibly can, firstly in Australia and then overseas. Talk about the size of the opportunity. Aging population is important to us, but generally it's our lifestyle has changed, and as I said earlier, our gut hasn't. So preventative health solutions have never been more urgent. They're right at the top of mind in the US. Happy to be able to report, which is a big market. And there is an increasing demand from non-pharmaceutical proven products. And we have that from many agencies in the US. Interestingly, for diabetes, 10% of global healthcare cost is spent on diabetes, a massive amount. Of recent years, the global natural health supplement market, which we can enter into, much bigger than we already are, much bigger, is growing. It's only 70 billion today, but still 70 billion, and the global functional food market. So we're a food as medicine company, which basically is another jargon for functional foods, and that's a big and growing market. We're right in the sweet spot of that market. So in summary, MediKane, it's a food as medicine company. We've got Australian-made products, Australian ingredients. It's natural, and we've developed with the scientific rigor of pharmaceutical drug development. Nutricane D is the only clinically proven plant-based product that naturally lowers blood sugar and does even in normal lifestyle, not in hospital condition. We've tested it in both, and it works for everyone. I shouldn't say that. So far, it's worked for everyone that I'm aware of. We know it's the worst result we ever got because it worked for 88% of people. It's a pretty convincing, effective product. There is growing demand around the world for clinically proven food-based health products. I've demonstrated that a minute ago, and the rates of blood sugar problems is growing, which is bad for the community, but excellent for MediKane. And so we'd like to invite as many Australians as possible to join with us. We're going global with our innovation, and we'd welcome you to come with us. So,
alrighty. I'm back. I'll just stop that sharing, and I think we'll go to Q&A now. Rod, thank you so much for that great presentation to learn a little bit more about MediKane and your plans for the future. If you have a question,
sure,
please
thanks.
click the Q&A section down the bottom, and we'll get kicked off with some of the questions. So the first question that's come through, Rod, is regarding your achievement slide, the H2 2021 sales. Are they pre-sales or estimates in that slide?
No, they're actual. Sorry, on the H. So the next 6 months, they're orders in-house from existing customers.
Yeah, okay, beautiful, awesome. Another question that's come through is, what is demand looking like for your products over the next 12 months? And some of the conversations you've had with partners, suppliers, things like that.
Yeah. Look, the demand is, we won't be able to satisfy it in the next 12 months. We need to build additional capacity, which we're doing. For the next 12 months, the demand will outstrip our current capacity. The numbers are massive if we achieve all of the sales that all of the US customers are talking about, but certainly we'll double, at least double, and I'm expecting quadruple this year's sales.
And in terms of capital raising, you've talked about your roadmap and your plans for the next one. Yeah. How much are you looking to raise in this capital raise, both from a sort of minimum amount that you're looking to raise and potentially maximum amount that you'd like to raise to hit all your targets?
Yeah. Thank you, Claire. It's a good question. So we're in a happy position that we've got a business which is already growing and paying the bills. So anything we get, it'll be all driven into growth. Part of that will be growth into increased capacity, and part of it, most of it, will be growth into supporting sales, so marketing efforts. So the minimum we're looking at, we'd like to raise would be $350,000. We'll assess how well the expression of interest is going, but 350 would skyrocket us into the next level, and I guess $1 million would be more than we need to drive us for the next 2 years.
And what has triggered the expansion into the US, and why are you heading over there?
Yeah, a couple of reasons. Firstly, of course, they're a big market. It's very cheap to communicate to people within the US because it's done every day. So the communications of telling people about your product is well and truly smooth and easy to do and cost effective. Physical distribution is also well lubricated and easy to do, and the market's growing. The US lifestyle is even a little bit worse than Australia's lifestyle in terms of processed foods, as I'm sure most of us know. So their willingness or their requirement for a product that helps diabetes is even higher. But massively, even since COVID, we've got a guy who lives there, who's a CEO of our US business, and he's reports every week now that the demand for preventative products has skyrocketed even compared to 12 months ago. People want to make, so we want to take advantage of that. And so the US is obvious, and if there's no Americans, I'll use my cynical joke, and they do speak a similar language to us.
Yeah. In terms of that American expansion, I'm just curious in terms of when one says expanding into America, especially in the food as medicine industry, what part of America is the first that gets hit up? Do you go to the East Coast, the West Coast?
Okay. Yeah, really good question. For start, we are not going to go to all of America. It's far too big for us. We had a base in New York, and we've still got a little infrastructure in New York, and we will probably go back to that. But right now, the base is in North and South Carolina, southeast. Great benefit there because that's where we can build a factory because they grow all of our raw materials that we need down there. So we've got some healthcare professionals down there that love the product, are using the product, they're giving to their customers. So the size of the little infrastructure we already got in Southeast is big enough that we can't supply it for the next 12 months. Can't supply all of it. So we will supply that. I mean, we're massively profitable if we get half their demand, which we can supply. And then we'll progressively move. Well, the next one will be California. They're very, very big on natural health products. And we've got some people there that were part of our network. And after that, who knows? But if we got decent footprint in South Carolina, which we've already got, but massively increased sales there over the next 12, a little bit in California, that would be, I mean, it's a very high margin business that would put us in a great position.
So in terms of the growing of the product, is all the product for MediKane grown in Carolina or just for your US market it's grown there?
Oh no, today none of it is, sorry. We need to build additional manufacturing capacity, partly for redundancy, of course, because we can't be relying on one or two factories. Today it's all in Australia, and Australia has the capacity to supply all of the US, but US large companies in the US, Walgreens, etc., don't get too excited unless you produce everything in the US. They're a little bit US centric. So we want to do it in South Carolina or Texas.
Interesting. In terms of the marketing of the product, you talked about the different business streams that you have, industrial, animal, white label, off the shelf, et cetera, et cetera. What is your major marketing sort of arm? Do you do a lot of social media marketing for the product so far, or how is the product put in front of most of your customers at the moment?
Yeah, so we're listed and stocked in some healthcare chains and some individual pharmacies. Pharmacies are not ideal for us, but health food chains are, because the people who do the selling are qualified usually, and they can help the customers understand the product. So they're ideal for us, and we've been very successful there, and we'll continue to do that. We do it online. We're going to do a lot more of it online. Part of the use of funds will be to beef that up here and then take the same approach into the US. So that's really for the human product. That's for our NutriPain D. Hospital product will be sold by having a sales force. Very small, because in Australia there's not that many hospital distributors, and you can't sell directly to hospitals. You need to sell through a hospital distributor. And that same process is in the US. There's a few more of them. But so it'll be a sales force driven for the hospital products. For animals, we have, because we're limited resources at the moment, we've actually done a joint venture. So we have the rights to make all of the animal products. We will make all the animal products, which is frankly where the profit is. And we're having a joint venture partner do all the marketing. He's going to do both retail outlets initially in Australia, pet care and others, but also online.
Okay.
Industrial, we've got a person appointed who's got a global network in industrial products. So we're set up for all of them. And as soon as we've got the next, the use of funds will kick them into high gear.
I mean, as you were mentioning before, it's a profitable business. It's turning over. How big is the team behind MediKane at the moment?
There's a board of 5, and in the US there's one guy full time. We've got 3 or 4 full and part time other people in Australia, supply chain and that sort of thing.
A question's come through about the ingredients for the product. How many ingredients are required to make the product, and are there any that are unique, specialised, and therefore would compromise production if unable to be produced?
Yeah, so we've got 4 or 5 different products, including white labels. There's probably about 10 or 11 different ingredients. Almost all of them, 99% of them, 98% or something, are grown here. In terms of critical, there is one ingredient which is unique to us, and that's the ingredient that we're currently looking to build a factory in the US. So we've got 2 sources of supply.
Terrific. And you may have touched upon this very lightly, but in terms of intellectual property around MediKane and all the clinical trials and research that has been done, that in process, completed, or where is MediKane on the IP journey?
There's some completed. Yeah, thank you. There's some completed in terms of granted patents. And for those who understand how patents work, there's a PCT process so that we've applied to other countries for some additional patents, and even some of the registered patents, not all countries have granted them yet. So that's called PCT, Patent Cooperative Treaty, most of the countries in the world. So we've got granted patents, we've got patents in the process of being granted. For the IP around the unique process to make the key ingredients, we're not going to patent that, because patent is a recipe to show your competitors how to compete. We do that carefully by, yes, I'm paranoid about that, Claire. So we do that by trade secrets.
Okay, awesome.
Formalised, written down, documented, and backed up and all that, but they are trade secrets.
A question has come through about financial data, which I'll answer in part and then pass over to you. The question is, do you have available financial data for the last 5-year period and projections for the ensuring strategic cycle? So just to answer that from a Birchal compliance point of view, in this investment opportunity through the platform, MediKane and every company through the platform will be asked to produce a regulated offer document, which is dictated to us by ASIC, which we review and confirm that all information is in there. Within that document, there will be the most previously completed 12 months of financial statements in that document for investors to have a bit of a look at. In terms of projections and return on investment and anything that could be seen as speculative financial information, because crowdsourced funding is designed more towards retail investors, we actually can't disclose any prospective financial information. ASIC, unless there's a reasonable basis, ASIC considers this to be misleading, and yes, just for people who are wondering about forecasts and things like that, that is why we can't include it, because of ASIC regulations. But Rod, do you have any comments on the financial performance of the company over the last 12 months?
Yeah, I have. Firstly, yeah, thank you. We're a public unlisted company. We're independently audited. The results are completely available to anyone who wants to see it. That's the first point, and we've got a host of explanatory notes as to why it's going up and going down, and COVID, for example, one example. So we've got comprehensive notes there. People are welcome to see them. In terms of projections, yes, we certainly have our projections. As Claire said, we're not able to note them in a crowdfunding situation, but yes, we've got them, and I'll talk to you, Claire. Some of the projections are from existing customers in written form, putting their orders up for the next 6 months. I would think we could probably share them, but you and I can chat. But certainly beyond that, we've got projections which are frighteningly large, and it's because we've got 5 different revenue streams. We've got one for each of them. So they're projections. So in the future, you can't predict the future accurately, and that's why ASIC are cautious about zealot CEOs like me trying to exaggerate. But we've certainly got them. As far as we're allowed to through ASIC and Birchal, we were more than happy to share them.
Got a question that's come through about competitors in this space, sort of shifting gears a little bit. In terms of food as medicine, there are a lot of products that go around online that are food as medicine products that aim to improve people's lifestyle and health. MediKane, what is your biggest competitor? Not MediKane, sorry, MediKane D. MediKane, who is your closest competitor, do you feel, in this space?
It's a really, I don't know is the answer. Firstly, we are targeting helping people who are living with diabetes, and so by definition, the other products that are effective out there are drug-based. So therefore, that is pharmaceutical companies. Now, we're not going to take them on, nor that could be ever. And we don't need to, because our product actually makes some of them work better. But clearly, part of in the mind of a consumer, when they want to buy something to help their diabetes, they will either consider a drug or something like MediKane, MediKane D. In terms of supplements, one of the big problems we face, which is why we keen to raise funds to enable us to have marketing horsepower, is that it's pretty easy to go into a health shop and pick up a pill that says good for blood sugar. A lot of them do. So that is a real competitor, albeit they don't work anything like almost none of them, to my knowledge, and I'll be stand corrected if indeed someone can point to one, but very few of them, if any, are developed with the scientific rigor of drug development, which we do. Very few, if any, actually clinically test the final product on a range of subjects. We only ever use the final finished product that consumers take for our clinical trials, and indeed all other trials. What most supplements do is that they list the ingredients, and literally somewhere in the world, someone has done some work on one of the ingredients, and whatever good results they got, they claim those good results, even though their final products have never been tested. And even though the type of ingredient may be a different variant of the ingredient that's listed. And there's many examples I can give where people have put a particular ingredient on a pack that's allegedly good for blood sugar, but in fact, the species that they're using is not the species that helps. But at generic labeling, it only has to say cinnamon or garlic or whatever it is. So ours, it's naive to say there's no competitors. Yes, there are. Certainly, anyone who claims they can help blood sugar levels is a competitor of ours, even though technically they're not.
Mm. And in terms of the success rate, you're mentioning that with MediKane and your flagship product, the success rate is about 88%, which is incredible in your customer base so far. Do you have any fantastic customer stories to share with us, and key examples?
Yeah, well, we've got. It's interesting. I just the 88 was a clinical result of people that saw benefit from our product. And yeah, we're pretty happy with that. I think a bigger number, or a more important number, is about 39% of people buy it once, find it works, and use it again. So that, to me, is more telling, because having the best product in the world is no good if people don't use it. So the fact that people repeat buy our product is heartwarming, because we're doing something useful, and we're getting long-term customers. In terms of customer stories, there's a number. During this campaign, in fact, prior to the EOI opening, a lady emailed us through the MediKane website, and had a most heartwarming story about how wonderful the product was, transformed her life, made her feel better, and lowered her blood sugar levels. Another gentleman, originally born in England, I spoke to him last night. He was telling me that his grandmother was a believer in food as medicine type products back in the day. He's about my age, I think, and he has taken our product, and he's found it's dramatically stabilised and lowered his blood sugar levels. There's another gentleman that many years ago we started. He's thin, fairly fit, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink much, good diet, shouldn't get diabetes, but he got it, and he was devastated that he did get it. Our marketing director took him a pack, and he used it, and we happened to be in his office when he got the result from his doctor, and the result was so good. This 60-year-old man started to cry because it had changed his life. I mean, it's wonderful to know you're making a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're here to make money, obviously, and we're here to make money for ourselves, certainly for our shareholders. But to actually know you're doing something useful is that's the mission of the business.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. We've got another question that's come through, and I think I might make this a last question for today's session, unless anyone would like to ask the last minute question of Rod. The question has come through, and it's asked a little bit off what we were just talking about, but it's asked more about the regulations around the product and things like that. Does the nutrition panel need to break down the product mix? That's sort of
no, it doesn't. Not in terms of percentages.
Okay.
It's an interesting question. The Australian labelling laws are pretty good. They keep us safe from the charlatans. They're very good. The requirement of Australian labelling laws for food is to put all the ingredients on, and we obviously do that. And ingredients must go on the panel in all products, not just ours, in the order of importance in terms of quantity used. And we do that, of course. But in terms of percentages or processes of mixing and blending or processes of manufacture, does not have to be declared. Interestingly, to export our product to some other countries, China is a great example. I always want every detail, but for Australia, no.
Interesting. Well, look, Rod, thank you so much for your time today to go through the MediKane investment opportunity and to answer some of the questions from our audience. I'm really excited about the campaign, which is due to launch by the end of June for the investment opportunity. For everyone that is watching and tuning in, the campaign, as mentioned, will be going for another few weeks, opening late June for the investment opportunity. If you would like to talk to Rod or to anyone from the MediKane team for more information or to ask more about what we covered today or more about their offer document when it's available, there will be an email that will be sent around after this webinar with the recording and with the contact details of both the Birchal team and the MediKane team as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you've enjoyed the session. Rod, is there anything you'd like to leave us in the audience with?
Oh, just to thank you for hosting this, Claire, but also to the people that joined us. Many thanks for being interested in the business, and we'd love to invite you to be part of it. Thank you again.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, everyone, and we will be in touch. Bye.